I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Now, I've read to you an excerpt from Dr. King's most profound and notorious speech, I Have a Dream. Dr. King served as a catalyst in the civil rights movement during a pivotal time in America's history. Growing up, I remember being so interested and so intrigued by Dr. King. I remember sitting at home on the computer watching YouTube videos about him and going to the library and getting documentaries and getting books. It's just everything I could to learn about Dr. King. I was always excited to talk about him in school. So today I want to share my enthusiasm about Dr. King. I want to share that with you guys by highlighting some of the remarkable moments in his early life, his vital contributions to the civil rights movement, and why he's still reverent in today in modern times in modern America. So before we can get to the end of someone's life, we got to always start at the beginning. So let's talk about the beginning of his life, his early life. Dr. King was born on January 15th, 1929 to Althea King and Michael King Sr. According to biography.com, King attended Booker T. Washington High School, where he was a precarious student, yet he was able to bypass through 9th and 11th grade and attend Morehouse College by the age of 15. So at the age of 15, I think that's pretty cool that he was able to enter into college. He entered into college in 1944. While at the college, King fell under the influence of Benjamin Mange, who was the president at Morehouse College, who influenced King to view Christianity as a potential force for social change. In 1948, King graduated from Morehouse College with a degree in sociology. I'm going to make a sidebar right here for that. I was kind of surprised and fascinated at the fact that King attained a degree in sociology. I would have viewed King as, getting a degree, political science or maybe communication, something of that nature. But seeing that he got a degree in sociology, that was quite interesting. Getting back on topic, I'm sorry, I got off topic. Just as any college student, King found the love of his life, Coretta Scott, whom he married in June of 1953. A year later, at the age of 25, King took over as the head pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, which kind of, set the stage. It kind of set the stage for King's career as a civil rights activist, because now he was given this platform, he was given this this stage, I guess you could say, to speak unto people, speak unto mass amounts of people. So this leads me to my next topic about vital contributions that King made to the civil rights movement. So I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I'm pretty sure you guys all know about Rosa Parks and whom she was and why she's significant, why she was significant to the civil rights movement. The NAACP led a bus boycott. They boycotted the bus systems down in Alabama, and they appointed Dr. King as the leader of this boycott. So Dr. King served as, the head of the boycott against the buses. The boycott, it was led for about a span of a year or so, during which Dr. King was arrested, he was threatened, even went as far as his house was bombed during this boycott, which if you're like me, I would have, kind of been waving the white flag. I'm going to use this as a white flag. Would have been waving the white flag and been like, you know what? All right, I'm done. You have your way. I have no parts. I have no parts. Get me out of here. But King persevered, and in 1956, the U.S. District Court deemed it unconstitutional to segregate buses. Now, King was inspired by Gandhi's nonviolence approach and nonviolence demeanor that he had, which led King to lead sit-ins and lead marches, peaceful sit-ins and peaceful marches, mind you, which continued to lead to him being arrested more and more and more. One of which, in one incarceration, he wrote a letter from Birmingham jail, which I was able to read last semester in my English class. And just to sum it up, it basically illustrated King's stance on racial justice and the need to go about seeking it in a nonviolent way. Moving on down the years, in 1963, King led the March on Washington in Washington, D.C., which brought about over 260,000 people from across America. So we're not talking about, a couple of his homies from, around the block. We're not talking about, a couple of his buddies back from college. We're talking about 260,000 people came from around the nation just to hear this man speak at the nation's capital, in which he gave his infamous "I Have a Dream" speech. In which the NAACP regards as the greatest speech of the 20th century. Years later, in 1965, King and a couple other protesters stormed the Alabama state capitol in the hopes of gaining voters' rights. So I mentioned this just to kind of allude back to what happened a couple weeks ago at the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., just to kind of compare the two, as Dr. King led things in a peaceful manner and he still brought about change. He did things not aggressively. He went about things in a peaceful manner and he still was able to evoke change in our nation. As comparing to what happened a couple weeks ago, where things went completely left, things went completely wrong, and there was nothing beneficial that really came from it, in my opinion. Years later, in 1968, on April 4th, 1968, King was assassinated in Tennessee. And then even in King's death, his vision and his dream, it didn't die with him. His vision for racial equality, it didn't die. It continued to lead on. His antecedent works, they paved the way for the continuation for racial equality inside of America. So this leads to my final point of how King is still reverent in modern times, in modern America, why he's still important and respected in today's times. His nonviolent and peaceful manner has been used as an example for many celebrities who are fighting that fight for racial equality and for police brutality. One of which is Colin Kaepernick. So Colin Kaepernick kind of sparked the second coming of racial change inside of America. Back in 2017, I'm pretty sure we all know about Colin Kaepernick and how he kneeled. So, yet it might be considered presumptuous that Kaepernick kneeled during the national anthem. It still was powerful. It was still powerful and it was still peaceful. And it actually evoked other celebrities to join in with him to fight for racial equality, to fight against police brutality inside of America. Even in last summer with the death of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests that ensued afterwards, we've seen how many took to King's nonviolent approach and they actually used that as the basis of their protests and their marches that they led last summer in June. Not saying that every protest was peaceful, and not saying that every protest was nonviolent, because it definitely did get very, very, very hectic out there. But for many, they took to King's nonviolent approach and seen the change that he evoked with his nonviolent, peaceful way, and they utilize that for their own marches, for their own protests. So as I move to my close, I want to just highlight and emphasize the different aspects that I've given of King's life. So his early life, the remarkable things that he's done in his early life that kind of set as an antecedent for what was to come throughout the rest of his life. He did all those remarkable things, being able to bypass through 9th and 11th grade and then go straight into college and then become a minister at the age of 25. All of those great things that he did at such a young age served as an antecedent as to what was to come in the future. Then to the vital contributions that he's made to the civil rights movement, and then how he's still reverent even today in modern America. So I hope that you guys can share my enthusiasm that I have for Dr. King. You guys can share that enthusiasm with me and celebrate King for the peaceful and non-violent man that he was. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a great day. See you.